following?
The opinions expressed in the following program do not necessarily reflect those of the station, its management, or that of Windy City Hometown Network.
All aboard! Next stop, Chicago Junction.
Wait.
Yes, it's the Chicago Junction, being the radio program that is about everything that is about railroads. Now here's our boss, the head of Windy City Hometown Radio Network, as well as being the chief electrical, Mr. John DeVita.
Well, thank you very much, Brian, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another broadcast of Chicago Junction from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on the northwest side of Chicago on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network on Monday, December the 2nd, the year 2013. Today, the panel will be talking about railroads and model railroads. And now to start today's broadcast, here's our announcer, Mr. Brian. Good afternoon, sir.
Well, good afternoon. And now, here is the host, our conductor, Jack Red Ryan.
Well, good day, everyone. I hope you're having a good day. We're pre-recording today, or being transcribed, as they say in radio talk. I was bound to mix those two up, railroad and radio. So it's railroad radio today. It's a beautiful late autumn afternoon. It's on the, I think John mentioned it was the 2nd of December, which is not really winter yet, but it's starting to look like it more and more every day. Less and less foliage on the trees. That means the trees, the leaves have fallen off. And here we are. We're a little short-handed today, but we have plenty to talk about, as usual. First off, before we get into anything serious, somebody wanted to know what was our theme song. What was that? And that's the name of the music. The song is Beyond the Blue Horizon, and it was from a 1930, I believe it was a MGM picture called Monte Carlo, and it was sung in the movie by Jeanette MacDonald. And a little footnote to our another little footnote of useless information we can come up with. But anyway, so let's get off to start. We want to talk about being that we're in the holiday season now. We just passed Thanksgiving. God, do you believe that? Thanksgiving already. Where's this year going to, Brian?
I don't know, but it was. I had a great Thanksgiving. I hope you did too.
Yeah. And hold on.
With the holiday season, there's got a lot of displays on, so we could talk about that. If going downtown, make sure you stop in the John Hancock building. On the lower level, it's going to have a fantastic display of both large and G-gauge and O-gauge trains. Plus, you have the big displays that are at the Chicago Botanic Garden, which are going on at this time. The only day it won't be there will be Christmas Day. The garden will be closed, but every day if you go in. Also, the Morton Arboretum has a railroad the Chicago Big Train Club has set up the display at the Morton Arboretum in Lisle, and also at the Brookfield Zoo. Go to their websites and you get the dates and times.
Sound like my. All right, that's better. Now, the Big Train Club, these a ride-along, or are these just big model?
Large-scale indoor-outdoor trains.
But they're not ride-along.
No, they're not ride-on trains.
So I was just picturing like...
They're about, the trains you'd be equating about twice the size of the Lionel low gauge.
Okay, that now I can picture correctly. What would you call one of those we used to see in the different amusement parks where they were, they were miniature, but you ride on them.
Well, yeah, they were ride-on trains. They were live steamers. We have several clubs around the area that are like that for live steamers. The trains are inch and a half scale, they call it, where an inch and a half equals a foot.
I know we have a lot of different scales, right?
That is correct.
And is there any big difference between one or the other? Or?
Well, yeah, it depends upon how much room you have.
Is that what it is?
Yes. I mean, like with the amusement park trains or the live steamers, the inch and a half, their track gauge is 7.5 inches.
Okay.
And so, yeah, you can sit and ride on them, but they go down to 3/4 of an inch. And actually, they pull people.
They do.
But then you have like Kittyland, which was 14-inch gauge.
That's what I was referring to, that sort of train.
Yes, we have, in fact, the Heston Steam Museum has a nice loop of 14-inch gauge set up to ride, and they actually have some of the cars and locomotives from Kittyland.
Now, the Heston Steam Museum is in Indiana?
Indiana, LaPorte, actually north of the city of LaPorte, close to the Indiana-Michigan border. They're about 7 miles from New Buffalo.
Okay, which means actually anyone who's going toward, Purdue or Notre Dame or Michigan, one of those could probably take a little side trip easily and see.
Oh, yeah, east of Michigan City. The easy way to get there is take 94 until the first exit in Michigan. You get off. If you go left, you go down to downtown New Buffalo.
Now, this is worth the trip, right?
Yes, it is. In fact, this weekend and next weekend, on the 7th and 8th, and then the 14th and 15th, Heston is running the Candy Cane Express. This way people can come. You can see Santa. Instead of a sleigh, Santa has a magical caboose. They have train rides going around. If you bring a toy, they work with the Toys for Tots. So if they bring a toy, they'll get a free train ride. Another train also running those the 2 weekends is going to be out at the Illinois Railway Museum. And they'll have a train set up to go see Santa.
That's in
Union, Illinois.
Okay, is that the one? No, they're not sold out. No, the other one.
The one in
Fox.
Yeah,
they're sold out.
Yeah, the Fox Valley Trolley Museum, they are sold out. But IRM, they can go online and they can get their tickets, and they do sell them there.
It seems like that sort of thing is getting more and more popular every year with the railroad tie-in with Christmas like that.
Yeah, well, trains and Santa Claus are back in vogue again, shall we say?
I mean, they always were. It seems to me that was the time of year.
But what it is, it's picking up more.
Yeah, it's. I mean, as far as the actual trains outdoors now, maybe is that anything to do with that movie, that Polar Express, or? Definitely,
Polar Express. In fact, that's our movie review today. In fact, this year it's celebrating its 10th anniversary.
Already? Oh,
yes,
impossible.
But it's becoming it became an immediate classic hit, being animation and using the new technology. Actually, when they were filming it, of course, you might have seen specials on Movie Magic, how they film people and then work the animation with them. Well, they did the same thing with a steam locomotive. They found a locomotive in Michigan, in Owasso. It was a Pierre Marquette locomotive, number 1225. And that became the official locomotive for the Polar Express. And they sent the movie crew out here, and they spent several days, filming the engine going back and forth to get everything. I mean, they even had them send them a box of coal to make sure they knew how to get lumps of coal. Now it looked right.
Oh, they practiced all that.
Yes, they did.
Very good.
It adds to the movie. It's a great family feature about the belief of Santa Claus. When a young man starts, when a young child always doubts, is there really a Santa Claus? And he gets his answer.
Makes me think of that. I guess it's the most reprinted something from an editorial page ever. Is that from? I found it was from like 1893 or 97.
Oh, the
Yes, Virginia. There is a Santa Claus.
that's correct.
That was. If you read it, it's done so well. Like they're saying, what they're actually saying, and the kid would understand is, as far as the spirit goes, there is a Santa Claus because of the spirit of what people do for each other.
Yeah, I believe it was from Roanoke, Virginia, that it came out of.
Okay. And I know it was, as I said, it was well reprinted. And originally, whoever wrote it, what's his name? You know his name? No, I can't think of it now. But he never got any credit for it. It was untitled on the op-ed page they called it today.
Right.
So anyway, but that along with something like this Polar Express, and the fact that I remember as a young kid, my dad had one of the Lionel sets from the 20s, a huge. What gauge would that be with the three?
Three rail would either be O gauge or standard gauge.
Because we used to set that up around the tree too, and it was a beauty. And that was made us the envy of the neighbors because they had train sets, but nothing like that.
Oh, definitely. The biggest thrill. Everybody always wanted to go see it, and finally in 1962, my dad took me up to New York. We went up there a couple times. He used to go into Macy's at Christmas time. Well, the one place we did finally go was the Lionel Corporation headquarters, which had a big layout on display. And you get to see all the new trains and everything. I mean, it's a layout that people wish they had in their basement.
If they have a good-sized basement.
Yes.
And no flooding.
No flooding.
Now, Lionel, is that in New York City? Or?
Yeah, that was in New York City. That's where actually it got its start.
Mm-hmm.
The factories ended up in New Jersey, in Irvington.
Mm-hmm.
But they had their corporate office and main headquarters was in New York. In fact, the original building that Mr. Cowan, his name was Joshua Lionel Cowan. He gave the company his middle name. But the actual building where he first started in 1900 still exists.
And was it right in Manhattan? Or
It's right in Manhattan, close to Little Italy.
Is there any plaque or anything there? Or?
Yes. When they did the 100th anniversary, a gentleman, they talked to the owners of the building. They allowed them to attach a plaque to it. And it was actually it's like 5 blocks from where the World Trade Center was.
Oh, that close. Now that's actually then a historical.
Well, they don't have no historical significance. They just marked it with this is where Lionel was born.
Because that's something Lionel and of course American Flyer are two names that we all remember from kids, and it's like, well, to me they were always there, but obviously they had a beginning.
Yeah, well, like the Gilbert Hall of Science was in New York also. Because of the big corporation, and they had a layout. They were 5 blocks away from Lionel headquarters, and their company was from New Haven, Connecticut.
Mm-hmm. Now Gilbert is that American Flyer? Or?
Yes.
Now they merged now, or they one of them bought one out, or?
Well, they eventually went out of business, but they were failing, but in 1964. Lionel bought them. Final Act. They actually bought them, and now they have revived them. S-Gauge is very popular, and they make American Flyer.
Okay. Anything else on the holiday calendar we should know about? Or?
Basically, when you walk around some of the libraries and all the stores in downtown, usually have a tree up or something, and somebody will put a train around it. So, just look for the holiday displays.
Mm-hmm. So, I guess you can't miss that. We were just downtown past weekend, my wife and, well, I didn't wind up going with them, but they try to go down to the Walnut Room. It's still the Walnut Room, by the way, and even though it's Macy's now.
Right.
I can't get used to that now. I'm no businessman, but the name Marshall Field should mean something in Chicago, shouldn't it?
Yeah. Yes. Marshall Fields. It's like Macy's is to New York.
Right. Exactly. See, maybe couldn't have said like Marshall Field, a Macy company, or something underneath it, or. like that, or
They could have.
no, but they don't. Alas, no one ever listens to you and I, do they?
Oh, heck no.
No. So anyway, just changing the topic a little bit for a moment while we're waiting for a couple of calls. Over the past weekend, we had a train crash in New York.
Yes.
A commuter train?
Commuter train on Sunday morning was coming in right at the junction where the Harlem River and the Hudson River meet. And this is a spot that's, been in use for hundreds of years. And in the last few weeks, they've actually had 2 wrecks there. They had a freight derailment there about 2.5 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they're trying to figure out the train was in push-pull mode, like here in Chicago, like the Northwestern, and coming into the station around the curve when it jumped the tracks. And of course, the investigators are there, so they're checking everything out. They've got all the electrical data. They're checking the speed, brakes. They're interviewing the engineer. He was hurt, but he's okay. But they had 4 deaths, and they have 62 people in the hospital.
4 deaths and 62 injuries.
Yes.
Yeah.
There are still 24 people in the hospital that were serious.
Oh, the rest have been treated and released.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's sorry. Our prayers sure go with them. We think of the train as being, well, matter of fact, it is one of the safest ways to travel, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Now, when Brian speaks, he speaks from experience, having been an engineer for. Were you engineer?
I was a conductor and engineer for CNW/Union Pacific, and for Metra.
CNW is
The old Chicago Northwestern
in Pacific.
and Union Pacific.
Yeah, and following a naval career.
That is correct.
Yeah. Okay. But anyway, if you hear him speaking, he's speaking from authority and from experience, which of course is the best teacher. Wouldn't you say?
Yes.
Yeah. So, so how long does an inquiry like this go on after a crash? Or
Usually, by the time they publish the report, it'll be approximately 1 year.
okay, so
It's sort of even like, with NTSB, they check everything. Same with the airlines. You don't hear anything about the wrecks until at least a year later from them.
that would be National Transportation Safety Board.
That is correct.
Okay, not like okay. I guess we've heard that enough. Although you say it's true, usually when we hear about it, it's usually a real airline mishap. There aren't that many airline mishaps either. We've got a pretty good record there.
Yeah, transportation itself, air travel has become a lot safer. Of course, rail travel always has been the safest means of travel when you think about it.
Yeah, it's also probably potentially, to me, I think it has a potential of being like a luxury sort of thing, and you can relax on a train. You don't have to switch off drivers or.
That's correct. Like the old Greyhound one, leave the driving to us.
Yeah.
Basically, that's what you do on Amtrak and the commuters.
But you got a lot more room on the passenger train when you
Yeah, at least you can walk around.
get up and. Anyway, so.
And plus, you can get a pretty good snack.
Pretty good. Okay, what do we got next? We had the. We're a little short-handed today, folks. We went up a lot of people with some work schedules that didn't necessarily work out with ours, but that's no big deal. We can still get it out here. We're supposed to be hearing from Kevin Berry, one of our founding members. He too couldn't make it in today and work, but he's very much into the model train scene, with the Chicago Lionel Club. And do we have anything else? Anybody else there, John? Where we go from there? Oh yes, you did go somewhere in Pennsylvania recently. You were saying?
Yes, I spent my Thanksgiving with my family in Reading, Pennsylvania. That is Reading, not Reading.
Yeah, as we all said with the old Monopoly game.
And but I was also visiting, and yes, they have a few good rail stops there. You have the Strasburg Railroad, which is now the oldest continuously operating railroad under its original charter in the United States, having started in 1832.
Really?
Yes. Because CSX dissolved the B&O Railroad, which was the oldest, up until then, and then the Strasburg took over the title.
So anyway, I'm going to say, what was that? I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Strasburg was getting ready for their Christmas trains that they're going to be running this weekend. They've got a 4.5 mile run, and they use steam.
That's the that's who has this
Strasburg Railroad.
Okay, and they have they rejuvenated some.
Their main motive power is steam. They do have 2 small diesels, actually 3 now. But they make their money pulling passengers and freight now, but they use them with steam locomotives. It's very profitable for them.
And we're just a short run like that, or is it just a?
Yeah, the total railroad's only 5 miles long.
So there's no real commercial traffic on this. I mean.
Oh yeah, they get freight traffic in.
They do.
Yeah, they interchange for freight.
Okay.
They do transloading, but passengers is their main revenue.
Oh, we have a call. Who is this caller? Hello,
This is Kevin.
Kevin Berry, old buddy. How's everything?
Not too bad.
How
Not
was
too
every-
bad at all.
How's everything with the Chicago Lionel Club you were active with?
Well, we're getting into our busy season. We have open houses coming up on the 7th and 14th of December,
Okay.
and I have it on very good sources that the chief engineer of the North Pole and Snowflake Railway will be there in the correct seasonal uniform for photographs with the kids.
Would it be red and white?
Yes, sir.
Oh, he will be there, the Jolly Man, huh?
Yet himself.
The Jolly Man. That's good. That's the 7th and 14th, and this is located in, was it New Lenox?
Yes, sir. 1311 Schoolhouse Road in New Lenox, from 9 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon, although I understand the photos are going to be from 10 to 2.
Okay. What about,
And-
do you have a phone number people could info, or can they get on the internet?
Actually, it's easier if they go on the website,
Mm-hmm.
which would be CLRCtrains.com.
Okay. And if they Google Chicagoland Lionel Club, I'm sure you get it the same way there too, right?
Chicagoland Lionel Railroad Club, yes.
Yeah. Okay. And what else? Is there any other activity between those days or during the week?
No, not during the week, at least not for us, but I understand there is a train display up at the Hancock, and I think if my memory serves me correct, Brian said there's a train set going up at the Arboretum, maybe?
Yeah, Morton Arboretum in Lisle.
You know, that's the G scale, the larger trains, and it runs right through all the displays.
Okay. And how big is that run anyway?
What do you mean, how big?
How long? How long a run?
Nice big loops.
Okay. But it's all pretty much visible in one viewing, or?
Yeah, well, it is viewable. You'll see different scenes. It'll be one continuous track, but they're blocked, so you have to see the different scenes.
Yeah, Kevin, we can ask you too. Are you still there?
Yeah, I was told that there is 1 mile of track at the club, although I've never taken a ruler out and measured all of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that there are 9 distinct tracks between the main layout and the belt line and the mobile layout that's up in the mezzanine.
That's your club.
Yes.
Okay. That's a lot of track there, isn't it?
Yeah, but I mean, how do you measure the kid in anybody? It's never too late to have a happy childhood, and it's never.
Oh no, I agree.
You never get too old to play with trains.
And what did you call you? You caught the sickness? You said to me one time.
Yes, I have the sickness. I'm a avid Lionel collector and operator.
Well, I'll tell you something, folks. Kevin and I, we were in the same line of work. He was with the Chicago Police Department. He retired as a sergeant, and I was still a foot soldier. But nonetheless, in 30-plus years I never saw a kid who's had any real interest in anything getting into trouble. Would you say that's pretty much true?
Well, once they get exposed to trains, they may go away from it for a little while, but they're going to come back to it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, is things like this. Look, my dad said he raised pigeons as a kid. He said it gets in your blood because you're so interested in what you're doing. It just occupies so much of your time, and you just can't get away from it. So it would be pretty much the same with the train hobby, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and it's generational as well.
Mm-hmm.
All three of my kids have trains, and I have a daughter that's she'll be 28 on the next go round, and she told me, Dad, it's not Christmas if I don't get a new car for my train.
Okay, that's right. You can start out small and add to it. Am I right?
Yeah, you can. All it takes is 2 pieces of track to add and a little bit of room. You can
Mm-hmm.
I know right now that with the new Lionel Fast Track, they sell add-on packs of 4 straight sections. So, you add 10 inches to each side of the loop or figure 8 and throw a switch in there, and God only knows. This may be how the railroad barons started out.
Got to start somewhere, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Now, we were talking earlier and wanted to know some convenient places to deal with. Do you have any that you know of, hobby shops or larger stores?
I can recommend 4 shops that I have done business with and that I am happy with the service that I got.
Okay, let's hear them.
The first one it's on the far northwest side. It's Chicagoland Toys and Hobbies.
Yeah.
They are at 6017 Northwest Highway.
Mm-hmm.
The second is Forever Timeless. It's a smaller place. It's at 4438 West Belmont. And they've probably got the most eclectic mix of trains and die-cast models. And it's a small store, but there's a little something in there for everybody.
Okay.
And then there's Berwyn Toys and Trains, and they're at 7025 Ogden Avenue in Berwyn. They're a fairly large store. And then Hobbytown USA out in Orland at 15551 South 94th Avenue.
Well, oddly,
they're part of a chain, but they have a nice selection of new and old stuff.
yeah, we just put a call through to Chicagoland Hobbies and Toys. We're supposed to be talking to them in the air shortly. And I can tell you firsthand, I was at with my son-in-law recently, and I was never in the place before, to Berwyn Hobbies.
Yeah.
And they have, as you said, it's like a candy store for a kid. When you walk in there, your eyes just light up, and you don't know where to look first.
They have a small layout at Berwyn, and there's not a spare inch to be had anywhere on the layout. If it's not a street, it's a building, and if it's not a street or a building, it's a piece of track.
That's right, and it seems like an awful lot of stock to order from or to choose from there, too.
Well, they have a tremendous in-store selection, and they will order for you if it's available.
Okay. And, of course, there are other people. Go ahead.
The Berwyn Toy Trains, all their accessories are keyed to activate from buttons that are on the outside of the layout, which is the same way that it's set up at the Chicagoland Lionel Railroad Club. All the accessories are activated from a button on the outside of the layout, so the kids can come by and press buttons until their finger gets tired.
Oh, they can operate themselves, you mean, yeah?
Yes.
Oh, hands-on. That's great. That's one of the best ways to go, isn't it?
We even have a small Thomas set up in the mezzanine with Cranky the Crane, and they can operate Thomas and they can operate Cranky the Crane. and it's set up for kids to play with.
Cranky, he doesn't get mad about that, does he? Or
No, he doesn't live up to his name.
no? Oh, I they kind of called me that at one time too. Cranky, you know.
Well, in your case, it was true.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when I have my morning coffee yet, and I spilled it earlier. So, so anyway, anything else on the plate or on the agenda, or anything we should know about? Oh, didn't you you recently make a trip to Nashville and you stopped by a Kentucky Railway Museum too?
Yes, we went to the Kentucky Railway Museum when we drove down to Nashville in November to visit with our brand new granddaughter. And it's a small museum. They don't have any. They only have one operating engine, but they've got some nice historic pieces if they ever get the money to get them back up and running.
Mm-hmm.
But they have a beautiful E7 diesel in Louisville and Nashville markings, and according to their brochure, it's the only one in Louisville and Nashville markings that survived.
Oh, really? I didn't. Was that particular railroad line? Is that it?
Louisville and Nashville was a regional that worked between Louisville, Kentucky, and Nashville, Tennessee. It was eventually absorbed by Seaboard Coastline, and then they became SCL/L&N, the family lines, and then they were later merged into Chessie Seaboard Express that we know as CSX. With it was the big C with the outline of the kitten.
Right. I mean, these railroads, they merged almost as much as the banks do lately. It seemed like you get one bank at one corner and 5 years is three different owners or something. Part of three.
Well, the railroads, the commercial railroads for freight don't get government support to the best of my knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So if the line isn't profitable, it winds up going dormant or abandoned. That's how some of the smaller railroads are able to buy 5 or 8 or 10 miles of track and run their little excursion trains.
Is that? Are you mean to say that passenger trains do get some kind of or have it available to any kind of subsidy or?
Amtrak does get a government subsidy.
Mm-hmm.
Now there is one passenger train running that does not get a subsidy, and that's the Pullman Luxury train. A company, and Brian could give you the actual name of the company that runs it because he's a little bit more knowledgeable about that than I am. But they acquired some 1950s, 1960s chocolate brown and orange IC Illinois Central passenger cars, and they run it on the tail end of the city of New Orleans out of Chicago on Amtrak down to New Orleans, and the whole trip is as it would have been in the late 50s and early 60s with the porters and a dining car and an observation car. It's real old-style, first-class luxury passenger transportation.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you for taking your time out, and don't tell your boss that you did this from your busy schedule. I mean your wife now.
I think the inner kid in him might not mind too much because my boss did 10 years as an engineer before he became a boss for the company I'm working for now that I'm retired.
How about that? Small world, ain't it?
Yep.
Thanks a lot, Kevin. We'll be talking to you, okay?
Thank you, sir. Merry Christmas to
Merry
you,
Christmas,
gentlemen, and Merry Christmas to everyone.
Let's not forget. Hope you had a happy Thanksgiving also.
Yeah, my wife and my daughter cooked dinner, and the turkey came out very nice, and everything was good.
Same here too. We only our one daughter and her son-in-law and the baby. They went down to visit his parents, so they came back yesterday. But we'll have them for Christmas. So.
All right. Merry Christmas.
Take care.
Gentlemen.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas here, Kev.
Thank you, Brian. Bye-bye.
Folks, we're going to take a little break.
And you are listening to Chicago Junction on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network from the John DeVita Broadcast Center. And now back to Chicago Junction and our panel.
I'm right here. Hello. Hello, we're back. We're back. A little brief break there, and a comfort station. And we have another caller. We got Mr. Greg Bozak from the Chicagoland Hobby and Toy in Chicago. And hey, how you doing?
Okay.
Here's Jack Ryan and Brian Valou. We're here, and we just wanted to give you a little talk about this. Is a time of year when a lot of people think about the model trains. Is this a good time to start, or would you recommend anything way to start?
Well, yeah, this is the most popular time of year for people to start out with entry-level train sets. We probably sell 80% of our train sets throughout the year are sold during the months of November and December.
Okay, so this is your time, right?
Yes.
Thanks for taking a few minutes off to talk to everybody here. Brian, I understand you know Brian here.
Yes.
And we were just talking to Kevin Barry. He highly recommended your institution. As a matter of fact, you're on the very top of his list. So
That's
anyway,
good.
Brian, got anything to say?
Well, if anybody has a hankering to go get a train, Greg is the person to see. Great business, get you anything you want, and will not put you on the wrong track.
Ooh, what a great play on words. Anyway, I can remember what we were saying before Christmas time. I always, myself, I associated my dad would put the old train up, and he had one of those big trains from the 20s, Lionel. I don't know what gauge would that be, probably.
It could be standard gauge.
Yeah, but we used to run around the tree, and we were the envy of the neighborhood with that. But everybody had theirs, and everybody had them one way or another. They would set them up or have them on the piece of plywood. But it's something that I guess it brings out the kid in all of us, doesn't it?
It's always been a holiday tradition to have a train around the tree. It was, as you mentioned, you had one when you were younger, and it was back in the 20s, 30s, even into the 40s and 50s. It was pretty expensive to buy a train set back then. A train set could almost be 1 week's salary for most people, if not more. So you didn't have as many people being able to afford to put a train set around a tree. So you had a lot of children that saw that and always wanted one and never could. And then as they grew up and had the money to do it, they became more involved in collecting a lot of the Lionel trains, mainly Lionel. And it just become a more popular tradition where at Christmas time people would set up a train set. And it's really grown into something fairly good size. I mean, every parent comes in and wants to buy their kid a train set for Christmas.
There was just that picture just was on with Robert Mitchum and is it Janet Blair? That a holiday affair, and it all centers around the kid wanting the train set. You know the one I'm talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
That was just on.
I mean,
again.
if you look at a lot of Christmas themes, any Christmas theme they have with a business or something like that, there's either a train set running in the window or there's a train running around a tree. There's just so much of it out there where it's it goes hand in hand. You got a Christmas tree, you got a train running around it.
In more recent years, we have the Polar Express.
Yes,
And
that's probably been one of the biggest influences as far as the whole Christmas and train tying it in. That Polar Express movie was huge for the industry and of course for Lionel because they're the ones that produced the train that sold. So it's been very, very popular.
Yeah, I understand. Brian said before it's 10th anniversary coming out already.
Yeah, it's been out for quite some time. It's hard to believe how much time has flown by that movie's been out. I can't believe it's been close to 10 years, but I'm sure it probably is.
And it's I guess life things just don't slow down as you get older. I noticed that this whole year has gone by really quickly too, and I hope the holiday season's been very good to you, and Santa Claus is good early.
Yeah, it's been a pretty good season, but again, then we have a shorter time frame between Thanksgiving and Christmas this year. So, last year we had 5 weeks. This we have 4. So it's people. We did notice quite a few people shopping before Thanksgiving, especially with some of the train sets. We sold quite a few the week and a half before Thanksgiving. So people are kind of planning ahead with a lot of their purchases.
You weren't involved in that Black Friday stuff, were you?
Well, we do get into a little bit of it, but unfortunately, in our industry, there's not a lot of and manufacturer sales or anything like that they or promotions that they pass on to us that we can offer some really great deals on Black Friday. So
I got you.
We try to do a few things in the store, and
Well,
pretty much that's over with now for the weekend.
I hope
so.
you have Black Friday every day.
I hope so too.
Thanks for taking some time out, and we'll be glad to talk to you anytime.
Okay.
And maybe you can stop down after the busy season and do a show with us.
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay?
All
So
righty.
long.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
Okay. Next up, we got our music department. You ready with that, John? Or Bob Tresiak from Paranormal Radio is a historian and antiquarian, and he's also an expert and a collector on old recordings. And he finds some of these old recordings about railroad for us every month. He's going to be doing it. So he has one here about another wreck of a train. So you want to play it?
This is a recording of the train wreck song. In the 1920s, train wrecks seemed to be popular topic for songs and for early recordings. The wreck of the old 97 was probably one of the more popular. This is the wreck of the 1256, another song about a train wreck, not sung by Mr. Vernon Dalhart, by another country western singer, and this one is done on the Radiox label. In the 1920s, you had all these smaller record companies that came up and recorded different songs for the dime store market and for the lower end, instead of like the Victor, Columbia, and the Edison, who were the big three of the recording industry in those days. So this one is recorded by Radiox, and it's called The Wreck of the 1256.
On that cold and dark cloud evening, just before the close of the day, there came Harry, Lyle, and Dillard, and with Anderson they rode away. From Clifton Fort they started, and their spirits were running high. As they stopped at Iron Gate and waited till old number 9 went by. On the main line once more they started, down the James River so dark and drear, and they gave no thought to the danger or the death that was waiting so near. They were gay and they joked with each other as they fared on their way side by side, and the old engine rocked as she traveled through the night on that last fatal ride. In an instant the story was ended, on a side in that cold riverbed, with poor Harry Lyle in the cabin, with a deep fatal wound in his head. Railroad men, you should all take warning from the fate that befell this young man. Don't forget that the step is a short one from this earth to that sweet promised land.
Okay, there's that. That's the wreck of the old 1256, and that was sung by Mr. Jeff Calhoun. Like I said, these were real popular in the 1920s. This happened to be recorded by Radiox in 1922, and they were an offshoot of another small company called Grey Gull, probably a Columbia offshoot, because Columbia did a lot of these recordings under different labels. That's that. Thanks very much.
Hello, we're back, and thank you, Bob Trejak, creator and host of Paranormal Radio, which is heard over this station and on the Windy City Hometown Network, which it takes in all the subjects of that we don't know so much about, the horoscopes and ghostly hauntings and maybe UFOs, and whatever his guests are. It comes into the broad field of paranormal. But Bob has been been interested and an investigator in this for all of his life. Well, not yet. He hasn't for all of his life, but all of his present life to present, and he's just a natural. I asked him one time when I first met him, I listened to his radio show. He was doing it over Summit Argo at the time, and he said, this was in February. He said, how long have you been doing this? Oh, since October. And he just takes to it naturally. It's a subject he loves, too, like we all do. Okay, we got one more thing to look at here. We want to talk a little Brian. You're sitting there with Brian Valou and Jack Ryan and all of our large audience here. And John DeVita is our engineer, creator, our leader. And thank you, John, for everything you've been doing. Want to step in or no? Anyway, Christmas movies. Brian, do you have anything particular you want to talk about as a Christmas movie?
Yeah, like we mentioned in the beginning, The Polar Express. Like I said, it's celebrating its 10th anniversary. Very fine animation feature. Getting a youngster to believe again, like as we talked about earlier. Another great Christmas movie. Oh, jeez. Well, train movies, we were also talking. There's a mystery train movie.
Okay.
That takes place, it was in the 20s, with a young Hedda Hopper. She is, after a train wreck, she was actually being taken to jail. She was arrested for some type of fraud. The train that she was on got into an accident. The police officer she was attached to had passed away, but she was able to get her handcuffs off, and they mistaken her for an heiress who passed away on the train. And then they end up at the residence, and they refine her, and they accept her as the missing niece, but then they find out that she really didn't do what they said that she did. So she was cleared by the end of the movie.
Oh, this is a talking picture, or is it?
Yes.
So probably really like 28, 29?
Yeah, we're figured about 29, between 29 and 31.
Yeah, okay, the early on, okay. And that was Hedda Hopper.
Yep, and it's called Mystery Train.
Okay, when did you see this recently, or?
Yes, I did. In fact, I ordered it last year.
Oh, okay. Where did you order it from? You remember?
Yes, Heritage Historic Rails. Okay. HistoricRails.com.
That's that catalog that...
Right. Dave had last week.
Dave gave it to me, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Now I can think of one I mentioned it before when I was talking to Greg over from Chicagoland Hobby. Holiday Affair.
Yep.
It centers on that toy train set.
Yep. Beautiful Lionel ABA passenger units with the wonderful heavyweight cars behind it.
You know, it also did another thing. It did kind of give you a picture of the post-war America and what it was like when department stores before the days of the mall. Right,
and they had the displays set up, and they had people demonstrating, like Robert Mitchum was in Fifth Avenue. He was demonstrating the Lionel set.
And it was like if you everyone hasn't seen one of these old department stores. There are a few around still. Of course, Marshall Field's. I mean, Macy's in Chicago is a good example. And it's like a little city of its own with all these departments, everything going on in there. And it's just I don't know how much of a staff they have to have, but everyone has to be at least put on their best face and have a decent wardrobe, I believe, too.
Right. Well, like when Kevin was mentioned, Berwyn Hobbies. the display layout that they've got there and how full it is. At the Christmas season, both A.C. Gilbert, American Flyer, and Lionel, they had special departments that actually designed train sets for the stores for the holiday season. And they design, they're not big layouts, they're anywhere from, say, 5x9, 4x8, to a little bit larger. And yes, they'll stack it with as many accessories and trains that they could, but it wouldn't be overcrowded.
Right.
And this way you could see, okay, the smaller ones will have the least expensive sets up to the more expensive sets.
Okay.
And like you said, and Macy's was a good place for it. Marshall Field's probably had a department like that. Sears and such. And that was another good thing about the holiday season.
And in thinking of a Christmas Story, which was, of course, the story about the kid with the BB gun, not on a train in this case, it was the Gene Shepard story, based on an "In God We Trust, All Others Pay Cash" was the name of the story it was based on. But there are some very good scenes of a holiday window, and trains, of course, were very prominent there. And the kids walking along, you just see the look on their faces. I remember, seeing things like that.
Well, yeah, it's like, even Christmas Story itself starts off with them looking in a store window.
Right.
And you could tell it was in the late 30s that it was. And because they had a nice, wonderful, the Hiawatha set that was made in the late 30s.
Okay.
A passenger train going around in the window.
That was a Lionel?
Yes.
Okay. And well, it said I guess what I'm saying is it's a real period piece, what it is, and a little look at like a little time machine for those aren't. Okay, let's hear another Christmas movie. Another one. Just don't have to necessarily be trains, but they'll wind up with trains anyway.
Well, you want to talk about department stores and such?
Sure.
Hey, Miracle on
24th Street.
On 24th Street, yes.
24, yeah.
With the starting with the Macy's parade, and what's happening in the stores, and basically getting the right spirit back.
It's been said that wasn't that well received when it first came out. In the first place, they didn't even mention it would be a Christmas picture. They released it during the summer, which is hard to believe now. But I don't know. I guess we're not as wise as some of these movie people are.
Well, it's like they said, some movies never got a big following when they first came out.
That would be one.
And then all of a sudden,
thanks to television, largely,
they
became a. But that one, that's another one, as you said. It's restoring someone's faith in humanity and in Santa Claus to a degree, right?
Yeah, that's it. A good old Virginia story.
Yeah, and when you look at that was a trend then at the time. What year was that made? 49, 48, somewhere right around there. I think it was post-war, but it was a trend.
Yeah,
then.
with a young Natalie Wood.
Yeah, very young Natalie Wood.
John Payne, Maureen O'Hara.
Sure, but
that was John Payne, not John Wayne.
No, John Payne, right? The Restless Gun in my day, who was on TV, was a former singer. A lot of those singers became good actors too, very good actors. But there was a trend at the time. It was largely due to that picture, The Naked City, and filmed in New York, and it's called Northside 777 here in Chicago. It's to film in the actual locations, not in the studio. So they went out, and you'll see street scenes of those days, and what it was looking like. And that was pretty much in the same tradition as that.
Yeah, and like you're talking about faith in the holidays. Sometimes we come across something we see in our youth that we haven't seen in a while. My brother-in-law and I were sitting on the couch after a wonderful Thanksgiving dinner my sister prepared. And we were just sitting there, and for some reason, when we turned the TV on, they had Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer on. Now, that's been around since the 60s.
Oh, okay, that was what Jimmy Durante was the voice?
No, Burl Ives.
Oh, Burl, okay, and was the voice of Rudolph? No, this is Rudolph. I'm thinking it's Frosty the Snowman. Pardon me. Stand corrected.
But Burl Ives was a snowman. He told the story of Rudolph. And my brother-in-law and I just sat there. Kevin goes, doggone, I hadn't seen this in a long time. And then all of a sudden another one that we remembered actually was probably the first of the Christmas specials, other than the variety, was the Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol,
Oh yeah, yeah.
an animation film there, early animation, and thank God it's out on DVD now.
Yeah, that was Jim Backus did the voice. And
Yeah.
everyone, and for everyone who doesn't know, that would be the millionaire on Gilligan's Island, Jim Backus.
That we remember him that, but
and
there was another TV show he was on.
I Married Joan. He was.
I Married Joan. He was
her
the
husband. He was a judge. That's going in the early 50s. And there's a guy they said he did everything: radio, television, on the stage, drama, comedy. You know, Jim Backus did it all.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we remember for those other certain things, but like that. Okay, what do we have now? Another. Let's think now. Another. Okay, Charlie Brown Christmas.
Right, with Charlie Brown Christmas.
Which was panned. The people at CBS thought it was terrible when they first saw it.
Yes, they did, and the same with How the Grinch Stole Christmas.
That too?
Yeah, but that was, and then you sit there and look, one of the famous animators, Chuck Jones.
Chuck Jones, right? Yeah. Well, like with CBS, with the Charlie Brown Christmas, they thought the music was terrible. They thought it was too plain as far as the background goes, and it was all like done in the style that Schultz did in the pages on the newspaper.
Exactly like it, and that's why it won the Academy Award.
And some people didn't like the fact that Linus tells them what Christmas is all about, and he recites right from the gospel. And I guess maybe it's a little too, I don't know.
No, it's what the season is.
That's right.
That's the thing is. And by them keeping it in instead of censoring it shows what our country's all about. And this is what the meaning is supposed to be. And you can't deny it, even though there are people going to court saying you can't say this, can't say that, but that's censorship, and we have our freedom, we do that. And I'm glad they have not changed that.
Yeah, I hope we stay in that course. It seems like everything today, all the so-called political correctness, is designed to dismantle whatever we have. As we built up as a civilization and society, they want to take big parts of it, pick away at it, and wear it out.
I mean,
And if there's a word that exists already, they get rid of it. Like, for example, don't say. I can't think of one now. Don't say. Or they'll invent one that there is none. They'll say, nope, say an actress. It's got to be an actor, a woman or a man is an actor now. Well, that's true, but they had the special actors. And yet, they wouldn't say comedian, it's for comedian. For the comedian was the female. Well, they would say in the film.
Right.
And yet, if it wasn't words that were specific to gender like that, they invent them, like chairperson or chair lady. Or, you can think of a whole bunch. Of course, now I'm not be able to. I'm getting
now we're digressing. Well, yeah. Well, like person cover instead of manhole.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Yeah, right. And they seem to also ignore the fact that in English, when you go to the general, you use the masculine. All men are created equal. It means all people.
Yeah.
Not just males.
That's correct.
So let's have another Christmas movie. Can you think of one?
Okay, Christmas movie.
Oh, Trains Are Not.
Okay. Like I said, we were talking about before. We're No Angels, the original.
Which was
Humphrey Bogart, Aldo Ray, Peter Ustinov, co-starring Leo G. Carroll, that people remember as Topper, Basil Rathbone, probably great character actor, and of course, the famous Sherlock Holmes. About Christmas on Devil's Island. Bogart, Ray, and Ustinov were escapees out of there, trying to get off of Devil's Island, and it happened to be Christmas. and Leo G. Carroll ran a shop, and they ended up doing things for him.
The Devil's Island was on the north coast of South America.
Africa.
You sure?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah, run by the French.
Yeah, the French, they had British Guiana, French Guiana, and Dutch Guiana down there. I believe I was right there. We'll have to look that one up later.
Oh, yes, we will, but I'll tell you what. Yeah, that's right. It was probably French Guiana.
Unless there was more Devil's Island than one.
Yeah.
Anyhow, we're digressing again. But you're saying this is a Christmas
A wonderful
picture?
Christmas movie.
Was it kind of like a comedy in a way, or?
Well, it was lighthearted. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it did have some fun moments.
Fun moments. And we've been having fun for an hour today, folks. And we want to thank anyone who's listening, and please tell everybody about it. And until next we get together, with some reinforcements, I might add, remember, may all your days be railroad days, and happy rails to you. Go ahead.
Join us again next time as we take our railroad of imagination on our continuing journey through the wonderful world of trains. Chicago Junction is a production of the Windy City Hometown Radio Network and can be heard over this station as well as windycityhometown.com, where the recordings of all our shows may be heard. Once again, all aboard. This is your announcer, Brian Valou, and I want to thank you for listening. Oh yeah, the conductor was portrayed by Charlie Johnson, a strongly young actor in need of work.
You have been listening to Chicago Junction on the Windy City Hometown Entertainment Network from the John DeVita Broadcast Center on the Northwest Side. Chicago Junction was directed by John DeVita, produced by Jack Ryan, edited by Stephen Lehman, and our audio engineer is James Rohde. This broadcast was pre-recorded on Monday, December the 2nd, the year 2013. Be safe, and thanks for listening.